Okay, 118 to 122 is from Megan Darcy, our Regional Agriculture Coordinator, the Community Pasture Jurisdictional Review for receipt. Thank you, Director Moon, seconder. Thank you, Director Reese Christensen. Comments or some questions on that one? Go ahead, Director Moon.
I just wanted to thank staff for putting this stuff together for us. I'm not sure that they can answer a question on it that I had. It appears on the agricultural development areas. In our area, we have some agricultural development land, so if it's also under the grazing lease, that was one thing I wasn't really sure on. I would suppose that if a group of young producers wanted to organize themselves, that they could apply for that grazing lease.
Go ahead. You can paraphrase it for Megan.
Perfect. Thank you, Director Moon. So the question to staff is whether or not, if there's a group of young farmers that wanted to organize themselves to access ADA land, could they apply for a grazing lease? Is that correct? Yeah.
I think, yes.
Okay. Yep. Anything else on there, Director Moon? You're good? Okay. Go ahead, Director Lambert, and then Director New.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, no, I thought this was really good, and I think we need to, I was going to bring it up in either the rule or new business, but the grazing, and I don't know out of the Vanderhoof district, but in our district here, we have one guy that manages it in Smithers, and we have one agrologist from Burns Lake to Smithers. We do have another agrologist, but she is either sick or stress leave or whatever it is. So, and the manager now is retiring in March, and he has holidays backed up for a year or so. So we will have one agrologist in an area that will be about 30,000 head. So this is this is completely unacceptable. How do you get anything done? How do you change anything on your range? Like, and you know, like, these are multi-million-dollar businesses trying to run without any support on one of the main things. Range is one of your main things. You have to have range to have cattle. So it just blows my mind that we are, you know, I know the government had a bunch of cuts and tried to tighten their belt, but, you know, that wasn't the area to do it in. That's a steady, you know, like that is a steady revenue a source of revenue for the government every year, right? And so it's aggravating that it is not. And when I'm on the PAC committee, like, it's forced in range, but nobody ever says that. So I started saying it all the time, right? And just so that they remember that it is part of the forestry. But it's super frustrating to try to get anything done, you know, like, and that's what's happening now, is that farmers are just going out and doing it. And now they're trying to charge the farmers for trespass or destruction of trees or whatever it is, because they're so sick and tired of trying to wait for somebody to do something in that office or in any of the offices, that they just get frustrated and go do it themselves, and now they're getting charged for doing it on their own grazing tenures because they didn't have permission to do it. So it's you know, like the government's creating their own mess here, right? And so it's something that, like I said, is probably something I should bring up in new business or something, but we need to start writing letters and start advocating, because agriculture is, well, I don't know after Artemis opened, but it's the second largest economy in our regional district. And it might be the largest one now that the forestries fell on its face. But, you know, in this kind of a situation, we need to have staff in those offices that are able to do their jobs so that we in turn can do ours. Right? So just one of those things that is very frustrating when it comes to range.
So I think probably because you're involved in the BC Cattlemen and then on the local associations and same as Director Moon and myself, I think where's that at when it comes to the association, like in the BC Cattlemen or even the Skeena? Like, I'm just wondering if there's a way to get some groundwork laid there, bringing forward like a letter and then looking for letters of support from the RD, like rather than probably us start it, it would be started at that level and then we can fill in the gap and support it, maybe that route.
Yeah, you bet. We can definitely start it. I know the Skeena Regional, there was one guy in the office here for years that just didn't do anything, and actually Skeena Regional made a motion to remove him. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, we will start that
That
bull
and then
roll.
bring it forward and then
Yeah.
we can do a letter of support or so, we can look at it and do that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Director Newell.
Yeah, thanks for this. I don't know a whole lot about this topic, but one of my things that I was interested in was these fire guards that get put around communities, and I love the idea of a win-win scenario where, in this case, where we could keep the vegetation down and also be able to by grazing cattle, but also keep a viable fire guard in place. So reading through your stuff here, it says that British Columbia doesn't have a formal community pasture program, but there's other types of tenures that function much in that way. And I'm curious about a couple things. I'm curious about well, I guess main thing I'm curious about is how we could do this. Is there anything that we need to do to make that happen? And who would be the tenure holder? So here on page 118, you've said that in the scenarios that could mimic a community pasture, a tenure holder could be a rancher association, cooperative, or company. I'm just wondering if it could be other things. Could it be like the regional district, or could it be in the case of Houston's fire guard, the municipality that held that and was able to utilize it for whoever, could they manage that and or could it be the cattlemen or something like that? Because I've mentioned it lots of times to people, and it's seemingly the government people we talk to all agree that it's a great idea, but nothing ever happens with it. So if we did use that, maybe the Houston one as a test case, do you have a recommendation on how we can move forward with it?
Thank you, Director Newell. So there's a research project that was done down in the Okanagan on this, where they had cattle moved in sort of like as a trial period to try and see if it would work for them to do basically wildfire management near urban centers. So there's a few things that make it more complicated. One is the stocking density is really important, because when you're really close to communities, you have to be a little bit more careful with, like, it's not like they're out on like 1,000 acre range, right? So now they're being almost confined into areas where you're trying to target. So there's a little bit more maintenance and care that has to go into that. But the other piece was not everybody's super happy to have cattle right beside them. So I would say a lot of our communities up here would be more used to it. But I also know just within, just by being part of the cattlemen group in our area, not everybody's super keen. So I would have to look into more of the logistics about who was managing the pilot project down in the Okanagan to answer some of your more specific questions. But one thing I would say is it really depends on what area you're thinking about. Like, so for Houston, are you thinking about like on the east side?
Go ahead.
I'm thinking the fire line they put in that goes from the Peacock across to the Bug Flats.
Right, yeah, okay. Also, that might already be somebody's range, potentially. Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't mean it's not your tag for somebody else. But anyways, so there's lots of questions to get down to sort of the logistics of what would actually make it happen on the ground. But to answer one of your questions, yes, it is something that people have tried in certain areas and then with moderate success. So, but finding people that are willing to put in that level of work when they're managing their own cattle herds might be tricky. So that might be one of the reasons why it's never gotten off the ground.
Go ahead.
Okay, I can buy that, especially in some of the southern scenarios where, you've got a lot denser population of people. But I think that Buck Flats to Peacock Fire Guard might be a great one in the sense that it wouldn't ruffle many feathers as far as I could see in regards to having cattle, mainly because it's quite a ways from anybody. It's the nearest thing is a cattle farm, but like you said, it may be already under some sort of range. I doubt it, but that would be something we could look into. And is there a way that we could either petition or promote or help subsidize in that kind of order of priority, making it just a little easier to do something like that? And so if it was already fenced and made kind of attractive, because it's just that it's not going to be a very good fire guard for very long, because they're actually planning to restock it. They're planning to plant it with trees, and which kind of flies in the face of fire guards in my mind. And at first I thought I was okay with it because I thought they were going to be poplars, and so I thought, okay, deciduous trees, maybe not such a big deal. I can't remember what the number was, but it was like 15% deciduous, and the rest was all conifers. And so I just want to see these things work. Fire is a big deal to us, and keeping viable fire guards is something that I'd love to see. And I always hear people complaining about there not being enough range. And so something close to town like that would also open up different things as well, where maybe people that are having a hard time finding hay or range for small herds or for horses, and maybe I'm just totally not realistic because I don't know much about it, but it's I'd just be interested to explore it more, and it just hasn't gone very far. So I don't know where we go. I guess my main question to you was how do we go forward? And your response back was it didn't work well down south. So is it worth pursuing this as a pilot?
Yeah, there was elements of it that did work. And my suggestion would be the first stop is, and kind of back to Director Lambert's comments, the first stop is really the range agrologist, because they would be able to give more detailed information about the area that you're looking at. So I think it's not impossible. It would just take a fair amount of preparation, and it would need to, the range agrologist would be the first stop.
Okay, because that was collared down there, right? That's when they used the radio collars, right? That's majority of it was down to the radio collars. Mike Pritchard was in charge of that down south for that program. And now there's quite a few residents or producers that are actually doing that radio collars now. There's one I'm going to go look at actually north of Fort Fraser it's crazy. Like he just GPS's an area, collars are expensive, put them on and they're in that zone, and then you just go on the GPS, change the zone, and they move over. They're stuck in that area, no fencing. And it's working. It's expensive. It was like $4,000 a collar, but it's an option. So go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Through to Director Newell, just to answer one more of your questions that I think I heard was what kind of entity could undertake community operating a range tenure in a community pasture manner. And one of your questions was whether or not cattlemen's associations can do that, and they certainly already do in our region. So for example, the Lily Lake Community Pasture is operated through a committee of the Cattlemen's Association in that area. And there is a map online where you can see which range tenures are allocated to which leaseholder. It will actually tell you who holds, based on a map, each tenure.
Director Moon. I'll go back to Lambert.
It's my understanding on the fencing part, I could be wrong on this, and perhaps Director Lambert knows more, that if it's a crown, if you have a crown lease for grazing, it's up to people who don't want your cattle to be on their property to fence them out. It's not up to the leaseholder to fence that. And also on the collars, it's becoming quite the thing. Many people have a smaller version of that for their dogs to keep them in a confined area. It's pretty much the same thing, and it is expensive. But I thought perhaps, wasn't there some funding out there for collars somewhere, I read?
I'm not aware of any right now.
All righty. Do you have anything to add? Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. In regards to fire guards, the 2018 fire guards, the ones that are in the range areas of tenure holders already, those weren't, we were able to get them not to be rehabilitated so that the cattle are grazing them and they seeded them. So now the cattle are grazing them. And so in our PAC meeting that we had in June, we actually took them out to a range tenure where they could see that, where they had bunched and taken the wood away, right? And then there was a big cat guard that was ripped through there and it was still like this high. And it was just grass everywhere. Right? And so if a fire comes back into that area, because this was an area that hadn't got burnt, but we'd put a fire guard in. So now it'd take you 2 seconds to just bare the soil, right? And here's your fire guard again, almost instantly.
And if it's been grazed.
And it's being grazed, yeah. So the other thing with those collars are our neighbor's doing that, and he actually has it so that as he's going through his range, that it moves 2 meters an hour. So it slowly moves their pen and just keeps moving about 2 meters every hour. And so they just slowly just move through their range. It's pretty interesting.
And environmental side of it too, like you can keep them out of waterways. You can, it's a huge, rather than having a perimeter fence where it's a free for all, you can, it's quite something.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a game changer here pretty quick. Yeah. So, did the funding run out? Because Deanna and I were looking at it and there was some funding, but I'm not sure if maybe we missed the window. I don't know.
I think this just might be something I'm not aware of. Was it through the cattlemen? Was it through the federal government? Oh, you're thinking of sorry. Yeah, you're probably thinking of the on-farm climate action through that's the federal government. No, I don't believe that funding has run out yet. And it would be, and actually, come to think of it now that my brain's turning back on, you probably could potentially check the beneficial management practices for the provincial program too, the EFP, BMP stuff, because it would be considered upland grazing management. So there might be actually a couple of different options there. I apologize. Maybe I'm still sleeping. Sorry about that.
Okay, all in favor of receipt? That's carried. Good job, we broke for lunch. Pages 122 to 134 is again Megan Darcy, and that's irrigation infrastructure investment jurisdictional review for receipt. Thank you, Director Moon. Seconder. Thank you, Director Stoltenberg. Any comments or questions on that one? Go ahead, Director Lambert.
Thanks, Chair. We're still working on this, me and my neighbors, but the list of things that you have to do to even apply for this is pretty onerous, right? Like we all have to have environmental farm plans. We all have to have this. We all have to have that. And so to try to get 5 or 6 people all on the same page is like herding cats, right? But yeah, it just kind of baffles me that something, you know, especially now that we're in our 4th year of drought, something that could help alleviate the issues we're having as a community or as a small community. It's crazy that there's got to be, you know, 100 different hoops that you have to jump through just to do this, but we're still jumping through hoops, all of us. So
Job. Good. Okay. Go ahead.
I have to agree with Director Lampert, and the first big hoop to jump through is getting through on the investment agriculture page and actually getting registered so you can actually get on and look and see what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go on a rant here, but I think the Ministry of Agriculture needs to come up with one web page that lists all the different ag programs, provincial and federal, and that a producer can go on there and look and see which one he should be looking at, because it's like a never-ending maze that you go through with these ag programs. It's ridiculous.
Okay, thanks. Okay. All in favor of receipt? It's carried. Thank you, Megan. Page 125, Northern Development Initiative Trust, 2026 Economic Development Capacity Building for receipt. Thank you, Director Reese Christensen and Director Stoltenberg. Any questions on that one? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. 126 to 139, Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, Code of Conduct and Parental Leave Legislative Update for receipt. Director Stoltenberg, seconder somewhere anyway. Oh, Director Weed, thank you. Comments there on that one? Go ahead, Director Greenaway.
I think it's really good. It's very well laid out. I do find that they're making us pay for all the training and everything that's going on with it is a little bit overboard. I think they should be coming up with the training dollars and stuff like that. But also, I think they should also take a look at this code of conduct for themselves.
There you go. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And page 140 is from Sharon Hartwell, MLA, Bulky Valley, Stikine, just the UBCM meeting schedule, and that's for receipt. Thank you, Director Newell and Director Lambert. Yeah, that's that one. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. We don't have a supplementary. And just quickly, we haven't had a committee of the whole, which is the sort of where we've morphed the ag part in. So I just wanted to give a couple quick updates. Did have a couple of meetings. We did meet with the BC Parks Foundation. Again, we had the delegation here and ended up meeting with Tim Ennis, and he is the Director of Private Land Acquisitions and Management. So he's the gentleman that's actually out on the landscape here. So we had Alex Colchar and myself met him in Vanderhoof, and we had a good meeting. Got a lot better understanding of things, more than we did with the delegation that time. So, you know, they're not targeting agricultural land. If it happens to be part of a system that they feel they can do some restoration on, and it is ag land, they will still pursue it. But so far, they are putting people back into every property they bought that is agriculture. They're letting it be grazed, and they're working on the one south of Houston as well. And even haying at some point. They're grazing and haying both on on any of the agriculture properties. It makes sense. They want to keep the weed control down. They want to keep the fire hazards under control, obviously. There's probably a bit to do with taxation there as well, I would think. But it was a little more positive. The guy's very approachable. But again, we still reiterated the fact that we think it's better off purchasing on Crown land and doing restoration there rather than targeting, making sure that if they can, please don't try and hit all the agricultural pieces. They're still looking, like you said, they don't have any plans to buy any more in this region, but if, something presents itself, they will. But yeah, I mean, it was a bit more positive coming out of there. He heard us loud and clear, and it's nice when you have those small meetings, you can just face to face right across the booth there and have a chat with him. But we'll follow up with him again probably another month or so and just see where things went over the rest of the summer. But at least if they are letting people go onto that land and like for, again, young farmers to get on there and pasture cattle or get hay off and keep the fire hazard and the weeds to a minimum, that's a positive. Did you have anything, Director? Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. One of the things is I know there's several people in our area, like on the south side, that are looking for help to do restoration, right? And so if they want to partner with existing ranches or farms and help do restoration on creeks or whatever it is, right? That they're more, like a lot of these ranchers or farmers are more than willing to have somebody come on and help them restore certain wetlands or whatever it is, right?
Okay, good. Okay, and then just the other thing too is is we also had the whole EU deforestation regulation stuff. So I actually got a call and met with this Janelle Queering, and she brought the manager of international trade on the call, which is the top honcho. So it was just interesting getting that level. Explained that they wanted to know because they're going back to the federal government with a case, trying to make a case to make it low impact and get it removed. And I'll say right up front, it's probably not happening. To be honest, it's probably not going anywhere. But they wanted to hear sort of what the impact was locally. Like, why does it matter if you can't go on and clear 20 acres and sell it? And they said, well, even, dimensional numbers, but the chips even from there are going to somewhere and getting processed and shipped overseas to Europe. Even if it's just a byproduct, you're still not allowed to do it. So I said, they were looking for big numbers. And I said, it's not the fact that these are massive numbers we're going to have. We have 20 acres here or 20 hectares here or whatever it may be. We're not doing massive thousands and thousands of hectares. But I said, it's just still eliminates the opportunity to sell it. So I think, the takeaway there, they were building a case and they weren't overly optimistic either, but they were going to give it their best shot. And the feds had asked for this. So there was a federal person on the call as well. And they're building the case at the federal level, and then they're going to present it to try and get it removed and take us down as low impact on deforestation. Again, they weren't overly optimistic. So it's working with local mills and trying to find a way to produce locally that doesn't have that effect of actually getting any of that byproduct shipped out of the country. Just another tough piece. But anyway, it was good to get those calls in and to be able to give them firsthand experience of what we were going through in our region and what it was affecting. So I wanted to slide that into the ag piece of committee of the whole. Somebody just want to receive a verbal report then, just so it's official that I did that. Thank you, Director Stoltenberg and Lambert. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, just new business. Go ahead, Director Neal.
After that presentation we had this morning in regards to seniors, I was hoping that we could, I don't know, maybe through just direction, come up with a time to maybe just, I don't know if it really needs a seniors plan or a formal gap analysis, but if we could kind of turn our minds to maybe just the top 3 or 5 things we could do to try and negate or fix some of these issues, and because if we don't, then it'll be this time next year, and we'll still haven't done anything. And so I'd really like to try to move forward on something. I just want it to be something that we're all on board with.
Yeah, it would be interesting though, when he was speaking today too, I was wondering, what each municipality is doing, where we can support, as a region, step in as well as a regional district and work with municipalities as well. Go ahead. Director Adro.
Thanks, Chair Parker. I was trying to think as Director Newell was speaking, what sorts of plans we have, because it does fit with the strategic priorities. So in the municipality, we have, and I think we have one here, like the housing needs assessment, which identifies lots of shortage, including senior shortage. We have one project going up now that's being done completely privately by a nonprofit. So it is kind of a bit of a circular issue where you must do the housing needs assessment, you must figure out what you need, and then it becomes, especially now, more troublesome to try to fill those gaps. So, yeah, I don't know quite, I don't have a particular solution to what Director Newell is saying, but it's clear that the problem is real. Yeah, so that might be one piece though, is just reflecting, and staff probably knows like what we have for the research done to identify what we do for it. And I don't know how much of that housing logically fits within the rural areas, but some probably does, particularly where the rural abuts against the municipalities, where people will probably want closer access to services the older they get.
Go ahead, Director Newell.
And I don't think it can be all, it can be a whole bunch of different things, but even at a minimum, supporting some of these change or requested changes at a UBCM resolution thing too, right? Like I just can't see many people, if they learned that seniors lose their benefits if they're working for someone at a certain age limit, or that, there's a bunch of them that just, I can't see many people agreeing with. And so if we put resolutions forward, got some backing from other regional districts and municipalities around the province, maybe that could go somewhere. But it can be as big or small as we choose it to be, to building houses, to getting changes made, legislation changes made. So, but we still have to turn our minds to it. And so that's all I'm asking, is that we kind of put it on the schedule to do that, and come up with a plan to see some of these move forward.
We can put our heads together on that and come back with a plan, because I agree with it. It should be revisited. So, okay. Go ahead, Director Moon.
I agree 100% on what Director Newell was saying. I'd also like to include some work on our long-term care beds. I know in my area, in Vanderhoof and Area F, I think the wait list is longer than the number of beds that are occupied in the facility. So I think we have 50 beds, and we have 60-some people on the wait list to go into long-term care. So I think that's very important to our communities if we want to keep our elders who can't look after themselves at home in their own communities. So that, to me, would be a big part of it.
Go ahead, Director Mutri.
And I think that's where it's good to work together too. On long-term care beds, there are some in Fort St. James now, but it was that all the Area C, Area D, and Area F came to Vanderhoof, right? So it's important to work together to make sure that happens. And even the same with seniors housing. A lot of seniors from the rural areas, the first time they become a townie is when they move into town, and because they've sold their farm or whatever, and that's when they come in. So I think working on that planning together is a place that we can really shine.
Yeah, I do too. Go ahead, Director Greenway, and then Director Lambert.
Yeah, the care beds that they have, when you apply for a care bed in Northern Health, you can go anywhere from Prince Rupert up to Fort Nelson, and you have no choice of where you're going to go at all. So if your family's in Vanderhoof, Fort St. James, Fraser Lake, all the way through our whole community, Smithers, everywhere, they don't really have a choice of where they're going to go. If there's not a place for them, they could be just about anywhere in Northern Health.
Director Lambert, did you have a comment? And then Director Reese-Christensen.
Thanks, Chair. I've been giving this quite a bit of thought lately with the halls and with seniors, and trying to age seniors in place, and using the halls as, maybe hire a coordinator, and they could do, like I have 4 halls, so they could do Monday at one hall, Tuesday at another, Wednesday, Thursday, and do activities for seniors at the halls. Then the halls are being used, and we're trying to get the seniors out, be active, work together. Because in my area, I have a huge senior population, right? And so, and the community halls, half of them built them. So, right? So it's it's one of those things that they're used to going to the hall, right? And so I'm gonna have to probably talk to Cheryl and get a service made. But I think that might be a kind of help bridge that, and we could even work at maybe even doing a meal or something too while they're there or something, because that's one of the other things that they need help with is, when they're aging in place is meals. So, yeah. So something that's been in the back of my head, but something that I don't think is going to be a huge burden for my taxpayers, and I think it'll really benefit the community. So.
Director Reese Christensen.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Parker. No, and good points. My thought was following up, and I don't know if we can include this direction or need a separate motion, following up with the seniors advocate again about lobbying the province on our behalf in the community housing program.
Was that? Sorry, was that a motion you were making?
I don't know if it requires a motion or direction.
Okay, I didn't know if you said it was, okay. I think it can go with everything that we're doing here, with me. I think we're gonna review this all then. I think this is definitely a passionate subject for everybody here. I think bring that all back. Okay. Any other comments? And I encourage you to, just when we're down at UBCM too, if you have the opportunity, look this gentleman up again too. And see again, keep asking what can we do, like what he's got, if there's anything while we're even there, maybe there's something we can add to it. So keep on pushing. Okay, we're good there. You've got everything jotted down and we're ready to roll. All right, perfect. Any other new business? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Director Stoltenberg and Director Newell. Okay.